welcome back to the Senior Moment for another episode. You've got myself, Ryan Kelly, and Lynn Schultz. Lynn, how are you today?
I am great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. So, of course, we're both from Carteret Landing, but today we have the pleasure of speaking with the executive director for one of our sister communities, Devon Parish, who is the executive director at Arbor Landing of Compass Pointe in Leland, North Carolina. Welcome, Devon.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
So, well, we are very excited to have you here. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about independent living and what is independent living, cover some of the activities that people do, why somebody would want to be there, and being an executive director of an independent living. Devon is definitely an expert in that, and that's why we've chosen to have her come and speak today. So, Devon, what kind of give an overview? What is independent living?
Gosh. That's a long answer, Ryan. So independent living is a lot of things. So, typically people look for independent living for convenience purposes, in my opinion. So here at Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe, we have residents that are totally independent, as in they're still driving. They do everything for themselves. And then we also have residents that may need a little bit more assistance in the sense of maybe they need a little bit of care, maybe they need a little bit of help, maybe they need meals and housekeeping. We can provide all of that under one roof here at Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe.
What is it that is kind of the driving force for a lot of the residents that are coming to you and starting to consider making this change of living in their home to deciding to live in a community? When you're speaking with them, what would you say are the top reasons that they're deciding to make this change?
So I don't know about you, Ryan, but at my home, things are a little hectic and can sometimes be overwhelming. And so I think as you age, that becomes even more overwhelming. All of a sudden, cutting the grass, cooking your own meals becomes difficult and a little daunting. And so most of our residents that start to look at Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe as a potential next step are just loving the security of coming into a home, having all these services provided for you, and finally being able to enjoy each other and having the socialization there of the other residents. We get a lot of people, we hear a lot that people are lonely, and they're in their home by themselves. And at 75, 80 years old, the last thing we want is for somebody to sit in their home all by themselves and worry about where their next meal is coming from or how their lawn is going to get cut. So we take that off their plate and do all that for them.
Now, a lot of what we'll talk today about is specific to Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe, but in the sense of for those people who are listening that don't have the advantage of being close to one of our sister communities, one of the Ridge Care communities, when it comes to independent living, are those services, are most of the services that we're talking about, are those also available in independent livings across the board?
Well, that's a good question. I think every independent living is going to operate a little bit differently. For us, we might include all meals, whereas the next senior living community may have a credit for meals. So every place is going to be a little bit different depending on which community and which company you decided to go with.
I've heard that some independents may serve just one meal a day as opposed to 3 full meals a day. So I think that probably comes into play as well. Yep,
absolutely. Absolutely. And some, where there are some where you have separate bills or maybe internet or cable are not included. And so again, it just depends on what community you're looking at and what options they have to choose from.
That's really good information because it's important to know, again, Ridge Care is an incredible senior living care company, but there are a lot of people that aren't close to us, and hopefully we're reaching out to a wide audience who would benefit from learning what independent living is. And as I said, I want to make sure that everybody understands, yes, we're talking a lot about Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe, but these are services that many people will be able to find in other places, just not quite what you offer and not as well as you do it. So let's take a little bit of a break, and then we will jump back in and be able to talk more about your specific services and what you all offer.
Hi, this is Lynn Schultz at Carteret Landing. We invite you to visit our beautiful assisted living community. Carteret Landing pairs exceptional, compassionate senior care with the stylings of a resort. Our beautifully appointed suites, common areas, and bright and engaging memory care neighborhood can provide you or your loved one with the quality living they deserve. Carteret Landing is in Morehead City, right behind the Friendly Market. Come by and see us today or call for your personal tour at 252-773-0980.
Hi, this is January Brown with Eastern Carolina Council, Area Agency on Aging, and you're listening to Senior Moment.
All right, welcome back. And again, we have Devon Parish from Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe on the call today. And so let's jump in with one of the most important things to the residents when they come to a community and talk about dining. What kind of services do you offer? What are the meals like? I know for our residents at Carteret Landing, that is so important.
Food is always important, no matter where you go, no matter who you are. So at Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe, we do include 3 meals a day, and we try our best to accommodate every single resident and make them happy. Here, we actually do not special diets, but we try to accommodate gluten-free and low-carb and things like that. We have an area culinary director who meets with our residents once a month to get their input on our menus, and he tries to incorporate as much as they want. It seems like a lot of our activities also revolve around food and dining. If you want a good turnout, then you've got to provide food. Again, for us, we include the 3 meals a day, and they are chef inspired, and we do desserts and soups as well, as those seem to be very popular with our senior population. Every community, of course, is going to be different in the amount of food that they provide to the residents.
When somebody, describe the actual experience, because there's so many different ways that the food could be provided. Is it restaurant style, or is it a buffet? How do you serve the residents?
Yeah, so we actually do what we call flex dining. So we have certain time frames that the residents can come down for meals, and it is all restaurant style. It's so funny with our residents because, of course, they are creatures of habit, and so there's not assigned seating in our dining room, but they like to sit with the same people. And then, of course, our servers go up and get their drink order. We then offer them soups and then bring out their meal shortly thereafter. After they're done with their meal, we then offer dessert. So our goal is that nobody leaves hungry or unhappy.
That's important.
Very, very.
It sounds like a really good dining experience, for sure. That's it, the socialization of it, the dining experience. Sounds like they have choices. So
Yeah, I think the coolest thing, Lynn, is when our tables have 4 seats, but when you see residents pulling up more chairs than the table can accommodate, it's really kind of cool to see that they develop that friendship, they look out for each other, and they want to enjoy their meal with their now friends, whereas if they were at home, they wouldn't have that at all.
coming off of meals a little bit, you touched on socialization. I would think that's a huge part as well. Can you maybe say some of the activities that you have or things going on that bring them together like that?
Oh, yeah. So, there's activities for everyone here. We have some people that maybe are a little bit more introverted that enjoy watching movies and things like that. And then we have our extroverts who enjoy a friendly competition of cornhole or an outing. And so we just really try to cater to everybody. Most recently, for Memorial Day, we did a really nice veteran service and honored all of our veterans. And then on Memorial Day itself, we did a cornhole tournament. And the prize was filet mignon steak.
Oh, my. Getting back to meals.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
so It was so funny, but the funny thing is I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll have a couple winners of this cornhole tournament. Well, all 14 participants got a filet mignon steak,
my.
Oh, wow.
which we may have gotten ourselves in trouble, but I mean, hey, they enjoyed it, and they're still talking about it, so that's the goal.
Now, you mentioned, I think you mentioned outings. What kind of activities do you do for outings?
We do all sorts of things. We're a little bit remote, our location. We're off of 7476 in Leland. And so when we get the opportunity, we'll just take the bus down to Southport. Most recently, we went to Fishy Fishy, a pretty well-known restaurant down there. And then we're also lucky that we have quite a few little businesses that are popping up around us. And so we also had a group walk to the tap room right down the road. Yes, and of course, that's going to now be a monthly event, although some of them go every day. So we'll do things like that, and then outings, we'll do shopping, literally anything they want to do. As long as they let us know, we'll make it happen. We'll put it on our activity calendar and go out and enjoy the day. It's nice with the weather getting warmer because, of course, when it's a little bit chillier, nobody wants to go outside and walk from business to business. So now we're getting to do a little bit more.
Now, I know this may sound silly, but for some of our listeners, they may not recognize this. You mentioned that some of your residents walk down to the tap room, so they're not stuck there.
That does sound a little silly, right? No, they are not stuck here. That's what has been so nice about these little businesses popping up, that they are within walking distance. And what's even better is if our residents are at these little businesses and they don't feel like walking back, all they have to do is call, because we're right next door and we can go pick them up. But they've been very well behaved at the tap room. But now there's a nail salon and a hair place right next door, so they're going to have like an all-day outing over there.
That's pretty cool. What would you say the average age is of your residents?
So I would say our average age is probably about 84. I think we're seeing that people are staying in their homes longer, and so people are also staying in independent living longer. We actually have 3 residents that are 99 as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's really neat. So they go from the age ranges are 69 to 99
Got it.
for us.
I was wondering,
Yeah.
when you said they're walking, I was wondering how many still drive as opposed to, but even if you drive, to take a nice walk like that, sounds like it would be really
Oh,
really fun.
yeah, it is. And Lynn, I didn't mention that some of our residents also have motorized scooters, and so they take them right on
Got
over to the
it.
tap room as well.
Oh my gosh.
They have a blast.
So not just specific to you, but across the board in independent living, you're not giving up your freedom to go and come as you please. You're able to leave those communities, and it's basically just like being at home, where you have that choice to go out to dinner if you want to, or go and visit friends. You're not having to stay at Arbor Landing or at any independent living.
Not at all. Not at all. We want to make sure that their quality of life while they're here is the best that it can be. And so we want them to go out. As a matter of fact, most of our residents' families live very close to our community. And so the families will typically ride up here right on their golf carts and pick them up and bring them back to their house as well.
That is wonderful. Tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about the accommodations. I know you have different choices for them. Can you go into that a little bit?
As far as, Lynn, are you talking about our contract, the people we contract with, the different?
No, I'm sorry. Just like if you have a full kitchen or just a kitchenette, or what are the accommodations? 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
Yeah, so we are really excited that we actually have full kitchens in our 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom apartments. We find that even with full kitchens, even though we provide our 3 meals a day, having the residents have full kitchens and knowing that they have the flexibility to stay in for a meal and cook is huge for them. It gives them that choice, even though their meals are included. We also have quite a few residents that love to bake, and so they utilize their kitchen pretty often.
That's amazing. I would think that'd be a huge draw, is to, like you said, just know it's there. Maybe not use it, but maybe just the day you wake up late and do your own breakfast.
Yeah, and it's really nice, like when their families come to visit, because maybe the resident wants to make the family dinner. They can still do that in their apartment.
Right. Now, if a family should come to visit, are they allowed, if they've got the 2-bedroom, to spend the night?
Absolutely. So we would love for them to spend the night in the apartment if there's room, but if not, we will put them up in one of our model apartments so they can stay.
That's wonderful.
That's a really great service. And
Right.
I mean, I remember my grandparents lived in independent living community in Charlotte, and getting to go and stay with them, and that was just such a great experience as a kid, and so much fun, and meeting. I mean, we talk about their friendships, and that was one of the highlights for them, was for them to be able to show us off as grandchildren, and all of their friends were right there, and we came down to dinner. And I'll admit, after a month of it, my brother and I got a little tired of it, but it was fun initially.
Well, I definitely think there's something to be said to come have your family stay in your home, as opposed to having to put them up in a hotel that's 10 miles away.
Now, as you were asking when Lynn asked that question, how about the other accommodations? What about vendors that come in to help you out, or what kind of additional care can people get? Can you talk a little bit about what's offered within the community?
Yeah, of course. So for us in our community, we have a few different services. So we have interim home care that's here 24 hours a day, and they provide services to our residents that might need a little bit of extra help. So when we talk about help with medications, or help showering, or help bathing, even meal escorts for when somebody first moves in, all of those things can be arranged through interim home care. Another thing that I love that has to do with interim home care, we have safety pendants that are included in our rent. And so if somebody's having an emergency or they fall, they press that pendant, and interim home care are the people that come to their rescue and see what's wrong. So there's always that extra layer of security for people when they move in, even if they're not receiving services from interim home care. We also have Empower Me Wellness that provides speech therapy, physical therapy, and occupational therapy. They are also on site. They can provide those therapies to any of our residents, not just people that might be coming back from rehab, or might be coming back from a hospital, or things like that. They can do an assessment and see if there's room for improvement anywhere and start those services. Those are our two biggest ones. We also have a physicians group that comes in by the name of Life Source. They're here every Tuesday, and they can see our residents if the residents sign up for that service. Now, for us, we have a lot of residents that move down from New York, New Jersey, from out of town, and they don't already have doctors established. So it works out very well when they move in to sign up for that service, to have the physician come into them, as opposed to them having to go out of the community to find new doctors and get established with everybody. Those doctors are great because they can order labs and x-rays, again, right in the community, as opposed to, the resident having to drive all over town to go get these services done.
And these are all things that are going to be independent living community specific. So when somebody goes and looks at different independent communities, these are things that they'd want to ask during the tour. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Talking about looking for different communities, as an executive director, what would you suggest that somebody who is going to communities and touring, what should they be looking at and what should they be asking?
For me, it's all about the way you feel when you walk in the door and how you're treated. I think it's so important. Everybody has different needs, and it's important to have the community, to make sure you fit into the community and the community fits into you. I always tell people, just because it's a beautiful building doesn't mean there's a great team and the residents are happy. Talk to the residents when you're touring. Ask them if they like it here, because at the end of the day, this is their home. They don't go home at 5 o'clock like I do. This is their home, and it's so important that a prospective resident hears it from a current resident, as opposed to just a team member, in my opinion.
I think that's exactly right. That's at Carteret Landing. That is exactly what I tell folks is stop, talk to the residents. Frankly, I say they're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. But
Yeah.
that's what you need to hear is from someone living there. Like you said, we're a guest in this house every day. This is
Right.
their home.
2 questions on things that people don't really like to talk about, but are important things to consider. How do people pay for independent living, and how do they know, or how do you know when it's time for them to move on to a higher level of care?
Yeah, so sometimes those can be uncomfortable questions. But for us, we are private pay, independent living. A lot of people say, oh, can we run this through insurance? Will long-term care insurance pay for this? Most likely not. Sometimes long-term care insurance will pay for the care that's involved, if any, but typically it is private pay. And then to answer your second question, Ryan, that's always hard and it's case by case. My biggest thing that I look for is if somebody's safety is at risk, it might be time to start looking at the next step. Now, there are plenty of people that never move out and they're here until end of life, and that's our hope. But sometimes, especially if there is a memory care need, that gets very difficult to make sure that their safety isn't in jeopardy.
So it sounds like a lot of the conversations that occur in when it's time to move to, or if it's time to move to a higher level of care, would be the same concerns that would bring them to independent living to start: the resident safety and their ability to stay safe within that environment.
Right.
So just to kind of wrap it up and reiterate some of the important points for independent living, it sounds like two of the main things would be a person's safety at home, as well as their socialization would be reasons that they'd want to be looking at coming to an independent living, and Arbor Landing being an example.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, it's time to enjoy life when you get here. I think a lot of people still think in their mind of a nursing home situation, even when thinking about independent living, and that's why they're hesitant to come. Once you step foot into an independent living, usually, I mean, you know immediately that it's nothing like, what the picture was in your head. So, yeah, I mean, I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Sounds to me like it's a change in location, not necessarily a lifestyle. Sounds like you still offer everything they could do at home. It's just they have so many more benefits.
Correct. Yep, and convenience.
Right, exactly.
Well, having visited your community, I will say that it is beautiful, and that I would happily have my parents move there.
Ryan, I would move in if there wasn't an agent.
Well, Devon, we really appreciate you coming on to the show today. Again, Devon from Arbor Landing at Compass Pointe in Leland, and she is the executive director of our sister community. Thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.